welcome to the deep dive.
Ah,
Okay, so you sent us the Field Guide to Fucking, a hands-on manual to getting great sex.
Quite the title.
It is.
Yeah.
And our mission today is basically to sift through this, well, very comprehensive guide. We want to pull out the really key stuff for you. You know, the practical insights on sexual anatomy, attraction, techniques, and maybe some potential challenges too.
Exactly. Think of it as your personalized roadmap. This guide, it's dense. It covers everything from basic anatomy right up to some pretty advanced stuff.
Yeah, we're talking deep dives into female and male anatomy way beyond the usual diagram.
And then things like how taste and smell factor into attraction, communication styles, body language.
Fear of touch, kissing, different kinds of sex. We'll even touch on common issues and, well, more adventurous ideas later on.
Should be interesting. Where do we start?
Let's start with female sexual anatomy, but maybe go beyond the absolute basics.
Okay. So the guide talks about the clitoral hood, its protective function, how it pulls back during arousal. But the really key thing it stresses is that direct stimulation isn't always the goal. It mentions the myriad variations in clitoral response.
That's such an important point for you to remember. Everyone's different. And speaking of assumptions, the guide also mentions that finding the clitoris isn't always straightforward.
Yeah, and it gives that funny bit of advice. Maybe wait until date 3 before asking about genital dimensions.
Huh. Probably wise advice to avoid early awkwardness.
Definitely. Then it gets into labia size variation. It actually cites this old 1932 report.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, by a guy named Robert Letou Dickinson. He recorded one case where the labia minora were 7.5 centimeters wide each.
Whoa.
Spread 15 centimeter tip to tip and even 23 centimeters when stretched, and 5 others between 5 and 7.5 centimeters. The point isn't the exact numbers, but just how much natural variation there is.
That really helps counter those narrow ideal images we often see, doesn't it? It highlights real-world diversity. What about vaginal depth? Does it cover that?
It touches on it, yeah. But it notes there's not a ton of research. You hear the typical 7.5 to 10 centimeter non-aroused, stretching with arousal.
Right, the standard idea.
But it contrasts that with the fact that some women just genuinely prefer deeper penetration. So it makes you think, doesn't it? How do you actually find out and cater to individual preference beyond those general ideas?
Good point. It really brings it back to communication and, well, paying attention. Now, what about the G-spot? Always a topic of curiosity.
The guide explains it as a potentially sensitive spot, suggests ways you can explore finding it manually or with toys.
Okay.
But the reaction isn't universal. It could be pleasure or even feeling like you need to urinate.
Huh. Interesting range.
And crucially, it says some people might not really have a distinct G-spot, and that's okay too. For those who do enjoy it, rear entry positions or stimulating from behind are often recommended because of the angle.
That angle thing makes sense. It also mentions the concept of a loose vagina. How does it frame that?
It's quite nuanced, actually. While maybe less friction for a smaller penis, it could be better for someone who's more well-endowed, easier entry.
Oh, interesting trade-off.
Yeah, and it offers a practical tip. Using vibrators or dildos during foreplay can create that filling sensation if that's desired.
Yeah.
Something for you to maybe consider.
Right. Okay, let's switch gears. Male sexual anatomy. What does the guide say about penis size?
It cites a 2003 study, average erect length around 15 centimeters, girth about 12.7 centimeters.
Okay, gives a baseline.
But it immediately points out that adult films skew way larger, which can lead to guys feeling inadequate. So, for you listening, remember porn isn't reality.
That's a crucial disclaimer. Does it offer any reassurance?
Definitely. It highlights that the first 7.5 to 10 centimeters of the vagina have the most nerve endings, so even a smaller penis can absolutely provide satisfaction.
Good to know.
And a little practical tip. Shaving the pubic area can create an illusion of more size, but performance and technique matter way more. For deeper penetration, it suggests rear entry or raising your partner's hips.
Practical and reassuring. I like it. It even mentions lay scholars measuring themselves.
Yes. Apparently it's been a long-standing point of interest. Now, sensitivity, the guide breaks this down really well.
How so?
Into 4 levels. Extremely sensitive, sensitive, mildly insensitive, and extremely insensitive.
Okay.
Extremely sensitive, likely to ejaculate faster, manual stimulation might be key, maybe even delay lubes.
Useful info. What about just sensitive?
Can handle firmer touch, but you'd want to vary techniques to help delay climax, delay lubes again, potentially. And a warning, don't squeeze hard behind the head without warning.
Ooh, yeah, good tip. Mildly insensitive.
Might need more oral or manual stimulation beforehand to get fully aroused. Lubricant could be helpful too.
And the extremely insensitive end of the spectrum.
That might need more visual input, adult films, maybe a striptease. Or stimulating other areas like the testicles or prostate. Really shows the range of experience, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
What about circumcision? Does that factor in?
Yeah, the guide mentions potential for more chafing because there's less self-lubrication. So using lube or saliva is a good idea.
Makes sense.
And possibly some reduced sensitivity around the scar for some individuals. Ties back to that whole sensitivity spectrum.
Right. So even that common difference has practical implications.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move into the senses. Taste and smell in attraction. This sounds intriguing.
It's fascinating. The guide links diet and lifestyle to the taste of, well, sexual juices. Things like asparagus, chili, curry, fatty foods might make things less pleasant tasting. Alcohol, nicotine, dehydration too.
Wow.
There's even an anecdote about infrequent ejaculation possibly leading to bitter semen. Shows how connected everything is.
Seriously. Who knew dinner could impact things that much?
Yeah.
What about general taste profiles?
It mentions the common descriptions: male fluids, often bitter salty, female sweet sour. But the key advice, self-sampling.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, personal experience is best. And it cautions against flavored lubes masking those natural cues.
Got it. Skip the artificial pineapple. Pay attention to the real deal. What about smell?
The guide stresses clean genitals shouldn't smell bad and warns against overwashing or douching.
Oh, counterintuitive.
Yeah, it can mess up the natural pH and actually cause odor. So it poses a good question for you. What's the right balance between hygiene and the body's natural state?
A delicate balance indeed. Now, pheromones always sound a bit mysterious.
The guide frames them as biological signals, maybe indicating compatible immune systems. It's that subconscious thing of whether someone smells or tastes right.
Okay.
But there's no universal magic pheromone attractant. It's very individual.
So no love potion number 9 then. Shame. Where do these pheromones come from?
Mainly the groin and armpits, which leads to an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Maybe removing all that hair is kind of counterintuitive if you want those pheromones doing their job.
Huh. Something to consider before the next wax, perhaps.
Yeah.
And links kissing to this.
Yes. Osculation kissing is a prime time for pheromone exchange via the nasal sulcus, this area in the nose, that chemistry you feel. It's partly biological.
Wow.
These signals go through the vomeronasal organs straight to the hypothalamus in the brain. Kind of bypasses conscious thought, gives you that gut feeling.
That's amazing. Okay, let's shift from biology to communication. Styles, body language.
The guide outlines 3 communication styles. Auditory, I hear you. Kinesthetic, I feel you. And auditory digital, I think, or that makes sense.
And how does that relate to sex?
Well, an auditory person might love dirty talk. Kinesthetic, all about touch. Auditory digital might prefer clear instructions or understanding the why.
So knowing your style and your partners could really improve things. How do you figure it out?
Listen to the words they use most. Sounds good. Probably auditory, always talking about feelings. Kinesthetic, logic and facts. Auditory digital. The guide says spotting this is really valuable.
Makes total sense. Okay, what about the nonverbal stuff? Body language.
It covers general signs of attraction first. Things like mirroring posture, open gestures, casual touches, holding eye contact a bit longer.
The little things we notice.
Increased blinking, grooming themselves, licking or biting lips. Standard stuff, really.
Okay. Any gender-specific cues mentioned?
Yeah, it notes some tendencies. For those attracted to men, maybe showing wrists or palms, fiddling with hair or jewelry that look from under the eyelashes. For those attracted to women, maybe taking up more space, spreading legs slightly when sitting, voice a bit louder, standing tall, maybe fingers hooked in belt loops pointing down.
Interesting observations. What if you don't see these cues?
The guide suggests if those attraction signs are consistently missing, maybe they're just not that into you. It also loops back to maybe waiting a bit, that 3-date idea again, to get a sense of sexual preferences before jumping in.
Solid advice. Okay, let's get hands-on. The art of touch, starting with kissing. Osculation.
Right. It talks about lip size, how lips swell when aroused. Mentions research suggesting medium-sized mouths on men are often seen as attractive.
Good news for the average-lipped among us. Any other oral anatomy insights?
Potential challenges if mouth sizes are very different. A longer tongue can be good, but maybe tricky for a small mouth. It also mentions Dr. Birdie's research, linking fullness under the Cupid's bow, that dip in the upper lip, to maybe a higher chance of vaginal orgasm for their partner, though it's still debated.
Fascinating. Even lip shape giving clues. Any practical kissing tips?
Just reminders about safety, being gentle with braces, careful with the frenulum under the tongue, and that kissing evolves in a relationship, right? It changes over time.
Absolutely. It tells a story. Okay, from lips to hands. Manual stimulation, often an early step.
Exactly. Good way to check out physical compatibility, what feels good. The guide stresses hand care, trim nails, smooth calluses, maybe gloves if needed, and wash hands.
Basics, but crucial. How does it suggest starting?
Leisurely pace. Build arousal with general skin touch first. Maybe even start over clothes, then gradually reveal more. Builds anticipation.
Nice.
It also mentions tickling for bonding, but sparingly. Too much gets annoying fast.
Definitely know that feeling. How about progressing the intensity of touch?
It lists a whole spectrum. Stroking, caressing, then maybe cupping, squeezing, gripping, even pinching, pulling, scratching, light slapping.
Wow, quite a range.
But, and this is vital, the more intense stuff, only with clear, enthusiastic consent. Always.
Absolutely. Consent is key.
Yeah.
What about bra removal? Even that gets a mention.
Yep. Suggests figuring out if it's front or back fastening. If it's back hooks, thumb under, fingers on top. But ultimately, let her take it off if she's comfortable. Avoid the fumbling.
Good call. It also clears up nipple stiffening.
Yeah, points out it can happen with arousal, but isn't a guaranteed sign in anyone. So don't just rely on that. Touch and communication are better guides.
Good reminder. Now it gets into more assertive touch, like marking.
Yeah, like light scratches or love bites. Historically, like in the Kama Sutra, they were seen differently now, often viewed as a bit immature.
Right.
So the advice is, if you're both into it, keep marks somewhere private. Inner thighs, buttocks, that sort of thing.
Subtle seems the modern way. Spanking.
Discusses it as a spectrum. Light teasing or more intense stuff and D's play always with consent. Give safety tips, too. Avoid ears. Take off rings.
Safety first.
Hand-pulling.
Presents it with nuance. Can be gentle, like while washing hair, or more intense during oral sex, kissing, doggy style. Again, all about comfort and desire.
Communication, communication, communication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after exploring general touch, it moves to direct genital manipulation.
Right. And stresses considering all the parts, not just the obvious ones. For female anatomy, find the clitoris gently, maybe use a vibrator. Pubic mound stimulation is an option too. Offers specific techniques for different clitoral sensitivities. Suggests maybe combining clitoral with vaginal anal penetration.
Comprehensive. And for male genital manipulation.
Same idea. Think beyond shaft and glans. Consider foreskin, ridge, frenulum, meatus, testicles, anus. For medium penis, maybe a vibrating cock ring, one hand on shaft, other exploring elsewhere. Or masturbating the shaft while swirling the palm on the glands.
Lots to try. Testicles can be tricky, sensitivity-wise. Can be. Recommend starting gentle. Stroking, cupping, light tugs. Less sensitive guys might tolerate gentle squeezes or perineum pressure. Pay attention to reactions.
Always. And finally, anal penetration requires special care.
Absolutely. Loads of lube is non-negotiable. Proper foreplay. Protection is strongly advised.
Yep.
The receiving partner should control the pace and angle by pushing back. Start very slow, pause for relaxation, soft toys for progression, and crucial hygiene. Clean anything thoroughly before it goes near the vagina. Combined with clitoral stimulation can be great, and the area can be extra sensitive after orgasm.
Patience, lube, communication, hygiene.
Gotcha.
So after all this touching, how do you know someone's actually aroused, ready for more?
Guide lists common signs, verbal cues, moans, gasps, faster breathing, heart rate, skin flushing, muscles tensing, pelvic movements, lubrication, obviously.
Usual suspects.
But also some potentially surprising post-orgasm things. Laughter, crying, could be pleasure or distress, need to check. Hiccups, even flatulence. Guide humorously suggests a quick bathroom break if that happens.
Good to be prepared. Okay, so assuming things are progressing well after manual exploration, what's next in the guide?
Oral genital congress. It starts by tackling myths about health risks, basically fine with good hygiene. Emphasizes biological fit, like mouth size. Mentions the gag reflex can be a limitation for some.
Makes sense. So oral anatomy basics.
Lips fullness, often seen as attractive. Tongue, capable of lots of movements. Teeth gums, potential for injury, be careful. Gag reflex. Then it details cunnilingus techniques based on sensitivity, responsiveness, clitoris size.
Sounds like adapting your technique is key there. What about fellatio?
Discussed in relation to penis size, circumcision status, sensitivity, smaller penis, maybe deep throat is an option. Uncircumcised might be more sensitive, stronger scent. Circumcised, often less sensitive, needs more lube. Testicle sensitivity, again, gentle approach needed.
So much individual variation to consider. Any tips for enhancing fellatio?
Yeah, stimulating thighs, licking, biting gently, kissing, caressing during, vocalizing pleasure. It even covers oral sex with piercing specific cautions for different types.
Wow, really detailed. Okay, after manual and oral, we get to coitus penetrative vaginal intercourse.
The guide frames it as often seen as the peak, but stresses compatibility is key for enjoyment. It offers advice for pairings that might seem less than ideal,
Like how?
like small clitoris, small penis, sensitive clitoris, insensitive penis, body size differences, mismatched orgasm tendencies, suggest positions like rear entry, seat position, standing variations, plus using manual stimulation or toys during intercourse.
So ways to optimize, even if things aren't perfectly matched anatomically, it explores positions more.
Yeah, variations on rear entry, how they affect penetration depth, clitoral access, really emphasizes communication and experimenting to find what works best for you as a couple. Long-term partners have an advantage here, obviously.
Personalization again. Okay, now for coitus prohibitus anal sex. The guide notes it's becoming more common.
Absolutely, but repeats the essentials, lots of lube, thorough foreplay, use a condom.
Non-negotiables.
Receiving partner controls angle pace by pushing back. Start slow, pause. Soft toys for progression. For female-to-male strap-on use, talks about harness fit, using interchangeable dildos for gradual size increase. It highlights the potential for real intimacy here.
Sounds like patience and communication are paramount. How do you even bring it up?
Honesty, clarity. If there's hesitation, suggest lighter forms, first fingering, rimming with a dam, toys, and crucially, respect boundaries. No pressure.
Good advice. Okay, troubleshooting time. Things don't always go smoothly. What common issues does the guide cover?
Premature ejaculation, common. Advice for both partners. Delayed ejaculation, avoid sex when drunk. Strategies if sober, like varying stimulation, visual aids. Elusive female orgasm, also common. Emphasizes foreplay, clitoral focus, varied touch, communication, checking psychological factors.
All very relatable issues. What about conflicting fantasies? That sounds tricky.
Key advice. Never laugh. Try to understand it where it came from, the appeal. See if milder versions are possible. Compromise. If it's a hard no for you, explain non-judgmentally. Focus on your blockage, not their fantasy. And safe words are essential for any fantasy play.
Empathy, understanding, clear boundaries seems to be the way. Okay, finally, advanced studies, pushing boundaries.
Yeah, gets into fantasy exploration more deeply, commonality, communicating about them, non-judgment, role-playing common scenarios, outfits, safe words again,
Yeah.
sadomasochism spectrum from spanking to more intense stuff, humiliation aspects, safe words vital, caution with tools, group sex different dynamics like FFM versus MMF, safe sex essential, pornography different types, ethics, choosing together, sex toys, vast array, choose together, start mild, even touches on sex robots.
Wow, covers a lot of ground. And it provides resources.
Yeah, lists of websites for different interests, plus fiction and nonfiction books for further reading.
A really comprehensive list for anyone wanting to learn more. Well, reflecting on this, the Field Guide to Fucking is seriously thorough. An incredible amount of detail.
It really is a solid foundation for understanding the sheer complexity of sex and intimacy, way beyond the simple stuff.
And for you listening, hoping to get up to speed quickly but properly, we hope this deep dive has been, engaging, giving you some of those aha moments without being totally overwhelming.
Definitely. Maybe think about which bits really struck a chord with you. What might you want to explore more, perhaps using some of those resources mentioned?
And here's a final thought to leave you with. In a world often showing very narrow, sometimes unrealistic views of sex, how can really understanding anatomy, communication, and all the diverse ways desire works actually lead to, well, better, more fulfilling, more personalized sex for everyone involved? Thanks for joining us.